Welcome, Karen. Come on
This
in.
is charming. It's like a little Mardi Gras museum, Arthur.
The walls of Arthur Hardy's Mid-City New Orleans home are filled with Mardi Gras memorabilia, posters and hand-cut ball invitations from Paris, ephemera dating back to 1858.
1861, that was the last Comus Ball before the Civil War.
Arthur has been archiving, collecting, and chronicling all things New Orleans Mardi Gras for nearly 50 years as the publisher of the Mardi Gras Guide.
So this is where it started. 1976, we began work and published it in 1977. We didn't have any ads and we didn't have any color. Too bad we didn't sell but 1,500 of the 5,000 copies we printed and burned the rest of them.
2024 marks the 48th edition of the Mardi Gras Guide, a labor of love that became essential reading for Carnival season, anointing Arthur as a Mardi Gras expert.
So tell me why you decided to found the Mardi Gras Guide.
You know, there was a need for it. When I was a kid growing up, if you wanted to know about tonight's parades, you bought this morning's paper. If you wanted to know what's going to happen next Monday, you had to wait till Monday morning. Simple concept that somebody smarter than me should have thought of, but they didn't. So my wife and I did, starting in 1976. First issue was 1977, but it was not an overnight success. It took years. My wife likes to say we were more stubborn than smart, but we stuck with it, and eventually it became a very good business.
The guide lists all parades that roll in Metro New Orleans with carnival crew and parade route details. Arthur is also the author of books about Mardi Gras.
That season begins every year on January 6th, the Feast of the Epiphany, and it's a season of merriment. But it ends on Mardi Gras, which is French for Fat Tuesday. So the church basically said, okay, you all can party on for a while. However, midnight Fat Tuesday starts Lent, Ash Wednesday. So that's when we pay for the sins of the past. So it's really a farewell to flesh. It's the feast before the fast. And our version came from France. In fact, this year is the 325th anniversary of Mardi Gras coming to North America. And then much later on, when New Orleans was founded in the mid-1700s, there were parties and no real parades, but minor celebrations. Now we have more than 60 in the Metro New Orleans area, and of course throughout the state of Louisiana.
So when we talk about parades, we have what's called the so-called old line parades.
We do.
And then we have the newcomers.
Right.
What's the distinction?
There's something for everybody. There's old-style parades that if your grandfather wasn't a member, you can't get in, no matter how much money you have or how important you are. And there are new parades that anybody can join. And even from the spectator standpoint, you can participate. And really, there are no spectators at Mardi Gras parades. We become participants because the thing that separates our parades from those elsewhere are throws, the idea of free gifts to the crowd. And, it's a horrible business concept. Why would an adult person spend $1,000 or more dues for the privilege of getting on a float? Then we make you wear a costume and a mask so nobody knows who you are, and you have to give away gifts to strangers. Who does that? We do that. We do it every year. It's a wonderful gift. Great for our soul, great for our community, and great for our economy.
Arthur, are there any little-known facts, surprising things that people could discover about Mardi Gras that they don't already know?
Yeah, especially for visitors. By law and by tradition, Mardi Gras may not be corporately sponsored. There's hardly an entertainment venue in the world that's not brought to you by somebody. The citizens of New Orleans are the shareholders of Mardi Gras. All of the crews are nonprofit organizations staffed by volunteers. Mardi Gras is like Christmas and Halloween. It belongs to everyone. The citizens make this thing happen, and it's called the greatest free show on earth, and it's free for the spectators. It's not free for the people who put it on.
So let's talk about the throws, because a lot of the parades have signature throws.
They do.
Let's hit the highlights of some of the more interesting ones.
Well, the first signature throw is the Zulu gilded coconut, and that's been around since 1910. And they can't be thrown because they're heavy, but they're handed out. Muses does a shoe each year, a decorated shoe that the members will work on year-round and, again, hand out to people. Most organizations tries to find something unique to them. And it's become a really big business.
Yeah, so the themes and the throws are all kind of one-upping each other,
Yes,
right?
they are.
Which in turn drives the economy. So let's talk about the economic contribution that Mardi Gras makes.
Just this year, on January 6th, Tulane University professor Tony Weiss released an economic impact study. Said Mardi Gras produces almost $900 million each year into the economy. For every dollar the city of New Orleans spends, it gets back $2.68. And a unique thing about Mardi Gras is we don't have to bid on it like a Super Bowl or Olympics. We don't have to pay any fees. It's ours. And that was what was so special about the first Mardi Gras after Katrina, when the city was still in shambles, and we did Mardi Gras because we wanted to. You know, nobody could make us do it. And people showed up on the streets, and you didn't know if Fred wasn't there because he was in Dallas or if he had drowned. You know, that was an emotional Mardi Gras. People held up signs, "Thank you," to float riders instead of "Throw me something, mister." Best Mardi Gras ever. And it was a special time, but it showed the world, we're down, baby, but we're not out. You know, we chose to celebrate rather than surrender.
Arthur Hardy is a Mardi Gras personality, one of New Orleans' most prolific and passionate cultural ambassadors, a carnival celebrity, honored this year with his own king cake doll.
Haydell's Bakery is one of the biggest shippers of king cakes in the city. Each year does a ceramic doll. And this year, I'm one of 2 dolls that I'm honored to be inside the king cake. So it's nuts, but it's very flattering.
So Arthur Hardy, you have arrived.
How about that?
The day that you have your own king cake doll in your likeness.
I'm much appreciative of this honor.